It is great to see each one of you here this morning, and really church should be a place of rest. Our life, the activity of our life, especially in the spiritual realm, should be a time of rest. And I don't want you to ever get me wrong. I'm never going to guilt you I don't want to guilt you into ever doing something, serving, giving in a way. I want you to be joyful, to give freely of your time, your talents, your resources, your finances, everything. It's not a guilt gospel. God created us different from the rest of his creation. How? We have a choice. We get to choose how we want to serve, how deep we want to walk. You can accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, and I can't judge you for that. That's a relationship that you and God would have, but our fruit will speak. The fruit we produce will speak volumes of where we are on that journey. So I ask you, where are you on your journey with God? You desire to do something more? Because you're going to say, well, I got struggles. And we've been through this. We've already taught this. We shouldn't have to teach this again. But in a nutshell, we're going to say, well, I've got struggles with allowing God to be the Lord over my house. Some of you say, I'm going to let the kids rule the house. I'm just going to do whatever they say because I want them to be my friend. Others of you are going to say, well, I've got to keep control of my finances. I really can't walk out into that deep water with my finances because every penny and then some is already spent when I get my check. Let me ask you, why are you having problems with your finances? Because you haven't made God Lord of that yet. God has walked me through that, walked our family through that. There's still days, there's still things we need maybe to update or a little more energy efficient, something that might save us a little money down the road if we could just obtain it. But you know, I'm just calling you to see, not a guilt. You can walk out of here and you can not do anything different than you're doing today, and you've already said, God, I believe that your son was crucified, dead, buried, rose again, and saved me from my sins, and you're saved. Whether you give $1 or whether you give $10,000 a year. That's between you and God. Your eternity is secure. But if you're wondering why you're struggling with parenting, you're wondering why you're struggling in your job, you're wondering why you're struggling in your finances, let me ask you to examine that portion of your life. Have you turned it over to God yet? Because you're going to fight against it until you have released it. You have trusted God with your eternity. Have you not? There better be a bunch of you up here at the altar then at the end of this message. If you've trusted him with your eternity, can you trust him with your kids? Can you trust him with your home, with your finances, with your work? You've said yes to the eternity. Can you say yes to today? And what he's called you to do today. God's got a lot he wants to open up to you. But when your hand's clenched, you can't be open to receive the blessing from God. It's not a mine. It's a his. God fills it up. You test him and you'll see. He won't let you down. He won't let you down. You just let go. See what he does for you. He will come through. May 1940, the British forces were in full retreat. The Germans had blitzed across France quicker than anybody could imagine or anybody would have suspected. The French forces were retreating along with the British. The British were told, word had gotten to them, just head for the smoke. And all they could see was this smoke rising up from a devastated town called Dunkirk. Dunkirk was the closest city, the closest town to them. It bordered the English Channel, which would have been close to Great Britain. They were told, just flee here, just retreat here, and we'll do our best we can for you. Just go to the smoke. The British retreat to the smoke. The French are following them as well. They fled to Dunkirk, and all along the route they're being encircled. The Nazis are just pressing a grip tighter and tighter upon them. The Germans believed they were going to wipe out the British army, the greatest army in the world at that time. They felt that they had them on the ropes. France was already caving. They had already conquered them. What little France had left was fleeing as well. They felt that the pearl of the British Empire they were about to annihilate. A German commander sent word to a British commander, and he said, all that's left is for you to surrender. Surrender or be destroyed or march out into the sea. The British commander got one telegram off to London. It was 3 words, but if not. Those 3 words made it to Churchill. Churchill and that nation rallied to save those men. It became known as the miracle of Dunkirk. You need to refresh your history and go check it out. It's an amazing story. A story from the weather to the sea to little bitty John boats, rafts floating across the English Channel to really save the world at that time. God's hand was in that event. Now today, in a biblically illiterate society, if an American force sent out those words, but if not, I'm not sure it would mean anything to the eyes that read it or the ears that heard it today. We live in a biblically illiterate day and time society. But in Daniel chapter 3, the king has ordered people to worship a golden image. But as you know them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they refuse to do this. Daniel chapter 3, verse 16 through 18. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer concerning this matter." That's a great verse right there, a great phrase. "If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, but if not," King James Version, "but if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Everybody in the British Empire knew what that meant. But if not. They knew what that said to them. We're hoping, the British commander was saying, we're hoping to be saved, but if not. No retreat, no surrender, we will fight to the death. Men, these 3 words need to be in our vocabulary today. But if not. I will not bow down to the world. I will not bow down to what society requests, demands of me. I will be true to a one true God. But if not, I'm faced with this predicament in my life. I see this struggle in this area. God will deliver me from it because I have full faith in Him. But if not, I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not acquiesce. I will not give way. I will not cower down. I will not back up. I will stand firm on His word. Period. We're surrounded by all kinds of enemies in this day and time. We feel there is no help for us but only destruction on all sides of us. And like the Nazi army, it encircles us. It grips us tighter and tighter each day. We feel like we have to surrender our morals. We feel like we have to surrender our values. We feel like we have to surrender our ethics. We are pressured by society to give in, to surrender in all these areas. But what I'm calling you to do is do not surrender. God will deliver, but if not, you have joy because your eternity is secure. I am convinced that God delivers. But if not, don't quit. Follow God. We live in an ungodly day. So how? How are we to live godly? You need some background about Daniel's day and time. In Daniel's day, the 10 tribes, the 10 northern tribes of Israel, have already been conquered. They're already lost. They're already gone. No remnants of them. They had been conquered about 120 years prior to Daniel. And now Daniel's day, Jerusalem and Judah will be captured. They will be sent off into exile. The best of the best will be carried off. What took place with Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and all the others, the cream of the crop, they're hoarded up, they're put in, we would say they were called off like the Jews were, put in cattle cars, put in trains, put in wagons or something, marched 1,000 miles away to Babylon. They're going to remove the best of the best. The smart people, the intellectuals, the scholars, the engineers, the architects. They're going to take the best out of Judah, send them over to Babylon. Everything that Daniel knew was gone to him. His village is gone. His town is gone. His temple is gone. His home is gone. Possibly friends, family. He's a young man at this time. Teenager, actually, I believe. Young teen. But everything he knew is now no more. It's gone. But the fact is, even in these trials, even in him not bowing down, Daniel never gives in. Daniel does not give in. He does not give up. And you think, well, maybe he'll just get by. Daniel does not just get by. Daniel thrives. He becomes the second in command. There's really nobody greater than Daniel. Why? Because he never gave in. He followed God's word. He followed God's path for his life. When God says, will you trust me with your kids? Can you say yes? When God says, will you trust me with your finances? I don't have enough to make it through the week. Just trust me. Will you trust him with your education? Will you trust him with school? God, I just can't do this on my own. Trust God. Daniel trusted God, and he didn't just get by. The man thrives. Daniel is the smartest man here in Babylon. He has influence over everyone. And speaking of that influence he has, do you know where the Magi came from? You remember the Magi in the story of Jesus and everything? They come a few years later, find him in a house, a little fella. What did they follow? A star. Do you know where the Magi came from? Get this. They came from Babylon. They knew one verse out of Numbers chapter 24, verse 17. Let me read this to you. You don't have to turn there. Numbers 24:17. The Magi were trained in the books of Moses. They were trained in the law, Torah. Verse 17 in Numbers says, I see him. This is Balaam. This is Balaam speaking. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come forth from Jacob. A scepter shall rise from Israel, and shall crush through the forehead of Moab. The Magi in Babylon, they know just a little bit of the Old Testament. They know just a little bit of Numbers. They're thought to be the smartest people in the day. Where did they get their knowledge? Do you know who trained, who taught the wise men? Daniel. They knew that there would be a star rise in the east. I don't remember how many years it was. It was a few centuries, a few hundred years from the time of Daniel to the time of the Magi. But this had been passed down. Daniel was a scholar. He was teaching the wise men. There's a lot that I'd like to say about that. They were looking for that star. Daniel had said about it, taught about it. They were prepared. They were ready. Daniel has impact in his day and time. Daniel has impact in the country. Think about if we had somebody like Daniel at Murray State University. And the teachings from 100 years ago, that this biblical scholar, that this educated man, that this God-fearer, that this God-follower, that he would have been, what he had taught 100 years ago was still being passed down to the students that walk on that campus today. Do you get what I'm saying? That was Daniel. Daniel so impacted the culture. Daniel so impacted the society that what he taught was being passed down. Society does not have to change you. You don't have to be the one that gives in to society. Daniel does it, and he thrives. So how can we be like Daniel? How can we have the impact that Daniel has? We don't have to give in. We can thrive. Daniel chapter 1, verse 1 through 2. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. So who does that? Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, takes over Jerusalem. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands, along with some of the vessels of the house of God. And he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasury of his God. So who does the Lord give over? Jehoiakim, the king at that time. Nebuchadnezzar overthrows them, besieges the city, takes the vessels, removes them from the temple, brings them back to Babylon, sets up shop in Babylon to their gods. They look pretty. They look shiny. They look nice. We can use this in our worship here. Now watch what happens. Nebuchadnezzar, he wants the best youth. He wants to train them. He wants to teach them. He wants to indoctrinate them into his society, their society. He wants them to bend. He's going to try to break them. Verse 3. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, the chief of his officials, to bring in some of the sons of Israel, including some of the royal family and of the nobles, youths in whom was no defect. See, he wants like the Hitler Aryan race here. He wants the good breed, no defect, who were good looking, showing intelligence in every branch of wisdom, endowed with understanding and discerning knowledge, and who had ability for serving in the king's court. And he ordered them to teach them in the literature and language of the Chaldeans. So who does Nebuchadnezzar want? Nebuchadnezzar wants all the intelligent people. He orders his chief, bring me the intelligent people. Bring me the ones that are making, I don't want the ones that are flunking out in college or high school or middle school or anything. Bring me the ones that are the AP honor students. Bring me the ones that are in high school and they've already got about 30 college hours set aside to them. Bring me the ones that are excelling. Bring me the ones that are leading the way. Bring me the ones that are familiar with literature. Bring me the ones that know Shakespeare, that can quote Macbeth, that can memorize things like that. Bring me these ones who are well-rounded. Bring the engineers, the architects. There's a battle going on for your mind. There needs to be. Why does it say that your mind needs to be renewed daily? Because there is a spiritual war battle going on to control your thoughts right now. Nebuchadnezzar wants to brainwash these people into their society. So he wants them brought to him. He wants to control their minds. He wants to erase creation. He wants to erase Genesis. He wants to train them in the ways of their gods. He wants to train them in the way of their creation. You need to look up their creation. They thought that the gods were having a battle, and some of them got cast down, or one of them got cast down here to earth, and from there the earth was populated. I can't remember what that's called right now. So they want to train. They want to change their thinking. The world wants to brainwash us today. But do you know you don't have to follow that path? You don't have to follow. Let me ask you. Baseball, I mean, they got plays that they call. They throw out the fingers. The catcher does. He's got fingers. He's got his fingernails painted. If you've ever looked at those catchers now, they paint their fingernails so the pitchers can see what number is down there, what play, fastball, curveball, slider, two-seam, four-seam, whatever, inside, outside, hit the dude. So they got some plays. Basketball, they have some plays. We got the finals going on right now. It's Game 5 tonight. You watch LeBron, you're either LeBron or you're Stephen Curry. One of the two. You're for them. Both innovators. It's great to watch them in their prime right now. They got some plays that they're going to call. What's Cavaliers going to call? What's their play going to be? Just give it to LeBron. Give it to LeBron. Give it to LeBron. Give it to LeBron. That's the only play they need. Football, you got some plays, don't you? I don't know what team you root for. It's kind of hard to really root for the Wildcats, for Kentucky. We just don't win a lot in football. Maybe you root for Alabama or Florida or some other SEC team or wherever they are. But football, they got a lot of plays. Every time they break from that huddle, they've got to play. And they've got to come up with new schemes, don't they? Nick Saban, he's got to come up with a new plan every time. Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they got to come up with a new plan. They got to come up with a new game plan. Roethlisberger, he's got to have a new hitch. He's got to have something new about when he breaks that huddle, when he comes out for a new team. They've got to prepare. Do you know how many plays Satan has? You got any idea? He's got one play for you. That's all he's got. Satan has one play for you. But you know what? You fall for it every time. Satan is not a creative individual. He was created. He is not everywhere. He is not all-knowing, but he runs the same play after play after play, time after time after time after time again. Why? Because you fall for it. I fall for it every time. It works. He doesn't need anything new. He can't come up with anything new. He's been deceiving since Adam and Eve. He's been tricking. He's been twisting the Word of God. It doesn't really say that, does it? You can bend. You can take that bite. You can marry whoever, whatever, as many as ever. God really didn't say that. He has no new plays. Verse 5, the king appointed for them a daily ration from the king's choice food and from the wine which he drank, and appointed that they should be educated 3 years, at the end of which they were to enter into the king's personal service. Now, Daniel doesn't want this food. Why? Daniel doesn't have anything to do with this food. Why? Because it's been offered to Babylonian gods. And what they believed is if you ate the food, it was like taking the God into yourself. It would be what we would think of as baptism. They would be baptized into that God would now live in them. As we say when we're baptized, when we come to Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit now lives in us. So Daniel says, I'm not going to have any part of that food. It's been worshipped, it's been given to idols, sacrificed to idols. That would mean that the God now lives in me. Daniel doesn't believe that, but he's going to say everybody else around me will think that. Verse 6. Now among them from the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Now, all these names were theophoric, contained the name of God in it. They all had the name of God in it. Verse 7. See, Nebuchadnezzar's wanting to change. He's making change. You already know that they got their names changed. Then the commander of the officials assigned new names to them. And to Daniel, he assigned the name Belshazzar. And to Hananiah, Shadrach. To Mishael, Meshach. And to Azariah, Abednego. Belshazzar means Baal is my protector. They want to change. Wanted to change these godly names into these little g God names, these Baal names. They want to run God out of their mind so that they can brainwash them. Satan does that to us today. He is battling for control of your mind. Don't give in. So what can we do? Give me some stuff I can do because I'm dying out here and I want to win. I want to battle against Satan. I need God to come in. First thing you need to have in your life is you need to have some conviction. 2 points for you. We're just getting to the message. 2 points. Conviction. Verse 8. But Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's choice food or with the wine which he drank. So he sought permission from the commander of the officials that he might not defile himself. Go back to the beginning of that. But Daniel made up. It's already decided before it happens. Daniel has set this into motion. He's already told himself, if this presents itself, I'm going to respond this way. You get me? Daniel had conviction. You need to know what you're going to choose today before it arises, before the temptation. Somebody at your work asks you to fudge the books. You need to fabricate an expense report. You need to hide this so the IRS doesn't find it. Is that right? No. How are you going to respond? How will you respond? You're going to do something your supervisor tells you to do and you know it's wrong? This was a long time ago, several decades ago. Oh, we got to get going. This lady, a nurse, worked with this doctor for years. I've been working with him. he was going to do an abortion one day. She walks in, she gets the exam room ready as normal, as usual. The doctor comes in, he tells her, he describes the procedure that they're going to do. She says, I will not do that for you. She says, I've been with you for years now. I will not be a part of that. I will find somebody else in your office to take my place. True story. The doctor said, you will help me with this or you're fired. Her conviction said, I will not. She walked out. Are you able to do the same? He said, well, I don't work in a doctor's office, so that won't ever happen to me. What applies to you? What applies to you? Do you already have your mind made up? Daniel says his mind was made up. Look at Daniel chapter 3, verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer concerning this matter. We've already read that. We do not need to give you, we don't have to sit around, oh Nebuchadnezzar, we know you're a great, powerful old man, and we know you're a king of the then-known world, pretty much. We don't have to sit around, we don't have to debate, we don't have to get together, we don't have to put our minds together, we don't have to formulate anything, we don't have to think about this anymore, Nebuchadnezzar. Our minds are made up. We're not doing it. God will save us, but if not. Let me ask you. Let me tell you. When lightning strikes, it's too late to jump. You need some conviction. You need to know how you're going to respond to certain things in your life before they're ever presented. That person of the opposite sex at your work, at your job, the cubicle right next to you. Maybe they're a teacher right beside you, just down the hall, just a door over. They make a flirtatious advance to you. What are you going to do? What's your response? We need conviction. You need to know what you're going to say and what you're going to do. Here's the second thing, conduct. Verse 8. Daniel's got his mind made up. He's not going to defile himself. So he sought permission. He asked. Daniel was polite about this. Verse 12. Please test your servant for 10 days, and let us be given some vegetables to eat and water to drink. He is courteous. Daniel is kind. Daniel has conviction, and he has conduct to match it as well. The world doesn't need Christian jerks. Do you know that the world hates you already? You are not liked by the world. I was in Hobby Lobby the other day. Odd place for me to be, but I was there, Bible school shopping. While I was there, I was in a fabric department. And hey, let me tell you what. When you church people, when you walk into a store, and you're Bible school shopping or something like that, or you're church shopping, you're Awana stop shopping, or teen kid shopping, or youth shopping, or something like that, we pretty much stick out like a sore thumb. We're looking for somebody to give us something. Sometimes we just need to pay full price for things. Sometimes we might need to pay a little extra for some things. It's a good witness. I'll just tell you that. Because let me tell you this story while I was in Hobby Lobby. I knew the couple. I knew what they were doing. And it's okay to go ask for some free stuff sometimes. It's okay to do that. Don't hound them. Be nice, be polite, be courteous. Shop there. Give them your business. In Hobby Lobby, there's this couple. They're there for their church. They're wanting something free. And the lady says, ma'am, they were wanting these bolts, fabric bolts, just the cardboard things. They were going to make a paddle wheel for the for the journey, the Bible school thing. They were going to make a paddle wheel, hula hoops, and bolts. And they probably wanted some of these things for trees too, longer ones or something, round ones. They're asking the lady at the fabric place, can we have some? And she says, ma'am, as soon as we get these, we don't stack them up. We just go ahead and take them to the dumpster, and they're compacted. They have a compactor back, a large compactor. Everybody has that. We bale it up and we throw it away. They recycle it. They get paid for the cardboard. She says, ma'am, we don't just stack these up. She says, but we'll give you anything we have, but you have to be here as soon as we take it out to the dumpster. And she said, well, can we go through your dumpster? She said, well, it's a trash compactor, but, I mean, you can look through it if you want, but we compact it as soon as it gets full. She says, you can stand. She said, well, can I come in every hour? The lady from the church, can I come in every hour? And I could tell the tension was building. And I'm thinking, you are church people, and you are ruining it. Why? Because there was no kindness and not much compassion in what they were saying. They were saying, give me, give me, give me. What must I do? I'll come in every hour. Just tell me. I can't pull up a chair. That's what she said. She said, well, I can't just pull up a chair and sit here and wait for you to get rid of one. And I thought, you have ruined it for this person if they're not already saved. They had to call the manager. The manager tells them the same story. The world already hates you. You don't have to be a Christian jerk. Daniel says, please, he's made up his mind. Please, he's compassionate about it. We need to be courteous. We need to be kind. We need to be equipped and able to share with anybody at any time. If we want to impact this community, if we want to impact others, we need to have a right attitude about us. There should be conviction. How am I going to respond? There should be compassion. There should be mercy. There should be grace in our conduct. So men, when you walk out of here today, when you go grab your bottle of soda pop, and the guy next to you says, boy, I sure wish I could have had that one. Give it to him. It's okay. Next time you go out to buy something for the church, we're going to have a cookout or something like that, and you're going to pick up the last box of hot dogs at Sam's or something, or the Food Giant or King Brothers up here, and they don't have any more in the back. Just go to Walmart. It's okay. Last story for you. I know you're already itching to go. We got a long day. We had a long day yesterday setting up Relay for Life. Bible visiting people yesterday, knocking on doors. You come to Sunday school, you come to church. You got Bible school all evening. And then you go to work in the morning. It's tough. We'll just leave it at that. Conviction and conduct. When you walk out of here, know how you're going to respond, men. You listening? I can't get you to come to a 1-week Bible study, much less a 6 or 12-week Bible study, no matter if it's taught by Tony Dungy or whoever it is. You're not going to show up for it. I understand. That's the way you guys work. That's the way I work. I wouldn't come to it either. But you ladies, you do. You like that stuff. When you walk out of here, how are you going to respond when something presents itself to you? When lightning strikes, it's too late to jump.